Hello, you guys. Let's talk about 8.8, circumference and area of circles. So first of all, we have to understand that a circle cannot exist without that center point, okay? So make sure you draw a center point, and then I want you to sketch a circle around the center point, okay? It's all of the points that are equal distance away from that center point. And then, of course, the center point is right there. Radius goes from the center point and stretches out to touch the circle, okay? So from the center point, stretches out, touches the circle. A diameter goes from one side of the circle through the center to the other side of the circle. So it's a straight line segment that goes from one point on the circle to another point on the circle, but it has to go through the center point. Now, a chord, oh, here comes Kitty. She wants to hear about circles. Okay, so a chord touches one point of the circle and stretches to another point of the circle, but it does not touch the center point. So that's a chord. And then a central angle touches the circle, goes to the center point, and then goes out to the circle again. And the angle, remember, is that space between the two radii. And circumference goes around the circle, okay? So the circumference is the distance around the circle. Okay, so sometimes they just ask you questions and they want you to identify the different parts of a circle. So look at example 1, letter A. From F to C, so from point F to point C. Well, notice how C is the center point. So from F to C would be a radius. And that's why I used blue, okay? So that's a radius because C is a center and F is a point on the circle. Okay, look at B. If they want us to go for angle, this is pronounced angle ECF. So go from point E, go down to C, and then across to F. Well, they're already telling you that that is a central angle because the vertex of the angle is the center point. And then for letter C, they want us to go from point A all the way across to point B. Well, it went across the circle, but it did not touch the center, so that's what we call a chord. And then D goes from point D all the way across to point E. Now notice how it went across the circle and through the center. So if it goes all the way across and through the center, it's a diameter. Okay, so the way that we're going to calculate this circumference, remember circumference goes around the circle. Okay, here comes Fiona, all right, is the way that we calculate the circumference, that distance, is to do pi times the diameter. Okay, so if we know the diameter, we're just going to multiply it by pi. Now, if we don't know the diameter, if they give us the radius, remember it takes two radii to make the diameter. So we'd have to multiply the radius by 2 and then multiply by pi. So take a look at example 2. They said find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 15 feet. So circumference equals 2 times the radius times pi. So then I would say it's 2 times 15, because that's the radius, and then times pi, 3.14. Now you guys know in my classroom I have that poster of pi above the door, and it goes all the way, well, about halfway around the classroom. And that's why they put this wavy equal sign. Do you see this wavy equal sign? As soon as we plugged in 3.14, it is no longer exactly equal. We're estimating, we're rounding. So they're showing you that right there. And then it would be fast to just do 2 times 15 is 30, and then 30 times 3.14 would give you 94.2 feet. Now remember, circumference goes around the circle, so it's kind of like perimeter going around the circle, and that's why the label is just feet. All right, now they want us to, on guided practice number 1, draw and label a circle with a diameter of 19 yards. So I want to see a picture. Draw it right here in the margin. Draw a center point, draw your circle, and then go all the way across the circle. That's the diameter, 19 yards. And now they want us to find the circumference. We'll start with the formula. Circumference equals the pi times diameter. So that would be 3.14 times 19. And when you multiply that, that would give you 59.66 yards. Remember, circumference, it goes around it. So that's just yards. Okay, let's talk about area of a circle. Now, area is all of the space inside a circle, okay? Circumference goes around, area is inside. And so the formula is area equals pi times the radius squared, or the radius to the second power. Now, you always have to do the exponents, the second power, before you multiply by pi. Multiplying by pi should be the last thing you do. All right, and so if I were trying to find the area of this circle, see how the radius is 3 inches? I would say the area equals pi times the radius squared. I'd plug in 3.14 for the pi and 3 for the radius to the second power. You have to do the exponent first, okay? So 3 to the second power means 3 times 3, which is 9. And then 9 times 3.14 would give me 28.26 inches to the second power. Remember, area is always units to the second power. Look at example 4, finding the area of a circle. They gave us the diameter of the circle was 14 centimeters. So all the way across was 14 centimeters. So the radius only goes halfway across, which would be 7 centimeters. So that's what I'm going to plug in. So I have area equals pi times the radius squared. So I put 3.14 for pi and 7 for the radius to the second power. Remember, you have to do the exponent first. So 7 to the second power means 7 times 7, which is 49. And then 49 times 3.14 would give me 153.86. And then it's centimeters to the second power, because area is always units to the second power. Okay, so look at this guided practice. They want us to find the area of these circles. Okay, and so for number 3, the radius is 14 kilometers. So always start off with the formula. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So area equals 3.14 times 14 to the second power. We have to do the exponent first. So 14 to the second power is 196. And 196 times 3.14 would give us 615.44 kilometers to the second power. Look at number 4. Area equals pi times the radius squared, and the radius is 25 inches. So plug in the numbers. Area equals 3.14 times 25 to the second power. Well, 25 to the second power is 625 times 3.14. That would give us 1,962.5 inches to the second power. Look at number 5. The diameter is 70 yards. Remember, diameter goes all the way across. If we only want to go halfway across, that's the radius. So the radius would be half of 70, or 35 yards. And so I have area equals pi times the radius squared. So that's 3.14 times 35 squared. Remember, 35 to the second power is 1,225 times pi, 3.14. That would give me 3,846.5 yards to the second power. Okay, so for this movie clue, I want you to write right here next to example 6, I want you to tell me that the area is always inside the circle. The circumference always goes around the outside of the circle. Okay, write it right there.